Okay, here we go again. All right, solution of the free response table problem. So smile when there is a picture. The answer is in the picture. Use our awesome eagle eyes, okay? So a table is also a picture. So now, given a rational function, how do you know? Because you see the fraction style, something over something, right? So therefore, we know it's a rational function. So part A. For what values of the x does the graph has a vertical asymptote? And give a reason. So you know that we like to look at the table. You notice two locations. When x equal to -2 and x equal to 2, there is undefined. So how can I tell you it's a vertical asymptote? So think about that. If you say that, oh, I remember the picture. If I have a vertical asymptote, there should be something we say forbidden number, right? So this is the picture going to this way, going to this way. So there is a gap. So I know that it's a vertical asymptote. Well, keep this awesome idea in your mind. How about when we look at the picture, we know that the limit, if you notice -2 and 2 are the boo-boo, undefined, so which one will be my vertical asymptote happening? So we say that just take a look at my limit. So if I choose -2 as my standing part, look at the table, what happened to my y value? From the left, you see that my y value is getting more and more and more negative. From the right, going to -2, I see my y value is getting more and more positive. So therefore, you know that there is an infinite gap, right? So therefore, that will be a vertical asymptote happen. And that's what we say that when there is a picture, the answer is in the picture. So the location is when x equal to -2. There, it's a vertical asymptote. Now, moving on. B. Does the function contain a point of discontinuity? Use your eagle eye. You know that this also will be a whole. So what we say that if I can do the factoring, if the top and bottom numerator and denominator, they have some common factor, I can cancel out. That is the removable whole. I know that. So now something being canceled out, which means there is an open circle. So therefore, you notice at 2. I don't have an answer for my y, so where tells me there is an open circle. But, do I have any outcome from the left, from the right, at the 2 location? So when you take a look at that, you kind of see that coming from the left side, I see that my number is getting smaller to 3. Okay, coming from the right side, I also see my number is getting closer and closer to 3. So therefore, you know that everyone has a value from the left, from the right, except at the location 2. There is an open circle hole. So therefore, I know that when x equal to 2, there is a hole. Okay, C. What will be the end behavior? So recall the knowledge we talk about to the left, to the right, because we are talking for the end. So to the left, make sure you have to look at the table value. So to the right will be my another end. So let's go back to the picture. To the left, to the right. So seeing is believing. Do not overthink. When you take a look at your picture to the left, what have you see at your y value to the left? This is my all the way to the left, right? So you see your number, it's getting more and more bigger from negative to positive. But what will be this number tells me 1.9, I can round it up to 2, right? So therefore, to the left, I know my function gets to 2. How about to the right? If you keep going to the right direction, what do you know? My number of my y gets smaller, but it eventually close to 2. So now you can say that, ooh la la, that's how we know about that. To the left, negative infinity for the x, my equation, y function will get to equal to 2. And to the right, my y equation will eventually get to be 2. So this is also tells you something. There will be a horizontal asymptote somewhere, right? And that is it, that y will equal to 2. D, consider the value in the table a factor. Now, I'm happy about during classroom time, you recall factor, Miss Oh, it's in the parentheses. Very good. And what will be the other keyword? Guarantee, that must be true. And where's the location? On top numerator. So therefore, how do I know about that? Now, this has come to the shortcut. If that is a guarantee, which means it's true for all the time. When you look at your table values, okay, so what do we know about if I look at a picture, okay? So we know that I feel more comfortable about the x-intercept. Why? Because I always know my x-intercept, my y must equal to 0. It's a guarantee, okay? So therefore, where do you see my y is equal to 0? Right here. When x equal to -4, y must equal to 0. It's my x-intercept. So therefore, I know that. So how do I write it as a factor? That is our skill. We got to use the reverse engineering. So x, how do I get a -4 as the outcome? Reverse engineering, both side -4. Now you know that x will equal to -4 and the y is equal to 0. Therefore, we had to come with the reverse engineering as a factor. It must be x plus 4. Good. So now back to everything we do this week is by the factoring. Now, I do want to recall, don't be scared. Practice makes better, okay? So if you're given this, you already know that it will be a rational function because you have the top, bottom, and the denominator will give us the vertical asymptote, things like that, okay? Now, just take time one step at a time. Can I do any factoring, aka can I do any simplify? So when you look at that, everybody see that 2, 4, 16, I can take out a 2 as a factoring. So therefore, that's one step I want to do. It's factor out a 2. So when 2 factor out, I got x squared plus 2x minus a. Now, bottom, this is what we mentioned about usual ego I. The bottom, it is x squared minus 4. Recall the formula. A plus b times a minus b. The formula will be a squared minus b squared. So if you say that, Ms. Oh, I can change my 4 to 2 squared. Therefore, I can apply the formula x plus 2 times x minus 2. And that's what we mentioned about use the awesome ego I. So go back to the factoring. You see that I know there is a hole, which means I need to continue do the factoring, which means this part, I still can do the factoring. So again, how do I make this happen? When you open that, the x times x is x squared, and what can I get a -8? That will be 4 times 2, right? But I had to have a -8, so one of them have to be negative. But the sum of them had to be positive too. So only when 4 times -2 give me -8, and 4 plus -2 is positive 2. So the factoring is correct. Then come to our home running. Because top and bottom exactly the same. So therefore we can cancel out. When we can cancel out, that gives us this, it's a hole, removable hole at x equal to 2. So far so good, that match. So what do we know about the denominator? The x plus 2, that is my vertical asymptote. Vertical asymptote. So far so good. And then we talk about that, the zero. How do I know about 0? Because 0 on top divided by any non-zero number, my answer is 0. So therefore, the x plus 4 had to be on my top numerator, so that will be on top. And we also talk about the limit of my function. So the limit of my function is 2. If you say that, how do you get that? Because that is the horizontal asymptote. So this is the cool thing about using your awesome ego I, plus with Newton's idea, and that's how we get the answer. So good. And that's it. Thank you. Have a good day.